Jeremy Corbell talks about future whistleblowers and David Grusch. We learn why we should be excited about the new UFO legislation. Avi Loeb is on the loose. General Milley is talking about David Grusch. And there's more news to go over. So get in here. It's time for another UFO News Roundup. I'm Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Okay, first of all, this is a double whammy because we have this article in The Hill, and instead of reading you this long article, why don't we just go right to the source? This is the author of the article, von Ronnenkampf. I'm probably mispronouncing that name, but let me just go over the part of his interview in this segment where he talks about why we should be excited about the new UFO legislation. And I'm excited about it. I'm wary, but I'm excited. I'm very excited if Arrow gets moved to a different office than under Ronald Moultrie. I think that's very encouraging if that's what happens. So I'm more optimistic now after learning that than I was before. Okay, let's just go to it. Hopefully News Nation will allow me to play this clip. They've been a little copyright claimy lately, so let's cross our fingers.
It's pretty extraordinary, and I don't think many people have caught on to what is in this legislation. It mentions non-human intelligence 24 times. It discusses legacy programs of the sort that the whistleblower describes. It has a mandate for the exertion of eminent domain over any UFOs that are in the possession of private contractors. So that means the government would forcibly take control of such equipment and material. And that goes for non-human biologics as well. This is pretty extraordinary language that we see. So I think once this information filters out, if and when that does become law, I think we're going to see potentially much more coverage, and I think that will open up the aperture for the general public.
Absolutely, and he says there is a monumental scandal looming about UFOs, and when all this comes out, the S is really going to hit the fan, and Scandal City, baby, and he's totally right. When all of this comes out, the public will be forced to take it seriously. All the people that you know that still poo-poo the subject after everything that has come out will be forced to say, oh my God, you're right all along. That's going to be a nice day, right? But it is going to be a process for a lot of people to go through. I remember when I got into this subject in 2017, I was under my own initiative. I took my time doing the research that I thought was pertinent and looking under every rock and down every rabbit hole and finding rabbits down just about every hole. But I was able to go at my own pace. Now, I don't have a day job and I have an obsessive personality, so my own pace was pretty fast. And I did a lot of rabbit hole searching during that time. So I think that was actually a very good thing for me. And I am a little worried about the general public when the S hits the fan and this monumental scandal comes out, that a lot of people aren't going to have time to assimilate this as I did, and as I'm sure a lot of you guys did as well, doing our own research, etc. So I do hope there are programs in place, there are support groups, there is some sort of process in place to help people when all this comes out, as it inevitably will. Anyway, there is reason to be excited about the new UFO legislation, and I am more excited now than I was, now that it seems more like a sincere effort to me designed to wrest control of the UFO topic from the control group. Is that actually what's going on, or is it the establishment trying to seize control of the UFO topic? I don't know, guys, but I am more optimistic than I was. Let me know what your temperature is. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbell has got some stuff to say. Let's listen.
Think that some of the whistleblowers that we've been talking about, I heard one estimate of 40 whistleblowers or thereabouts in the wings, ready to go. What kind of state of readiness do you believe tonight those people are in?
Armed to the teeth.
Wow. And the kind of, and look, I'm sure that you know more that you can tell me tonight, and that's all right. You know, you tell me what you want to tell me, and that's cool with me, because it's great to have you on the show.
I'm not trying to be coy. It's not.
No, I get it.
I want to tell you everything.
I
David
totally
Grusch
get it.
wanted to tell you everything. It's just that the legality of it and making sure that that happens properly is so important for the historical record of how this is done.
Yeah, and exactly. If you trip on this route, you're going to fall a long way. So I understand that entirely. But those 40 people, if there are 40 people, maybe there are more, what do you think, what's your best guess, is the kind of stuff they're going to come out with?
Oh, I think you'll be hearing directly from people that have worked on these technologies, people that might even have their clearances held in a kind of purgatory so they can't leave. I think that you're going to hear directly from people that ran programs, which, by the way, there were supposed to be 2 other legacy UFO program witnesses, one from an agency, that actually have much more of the story than you or me or anybody else. So that didn't happen. That should tell you something. So who are you going to hear from? As long as there's not some major problem that occurs, oh, you're going to hear from everybody involved. I mean, you're going to hear, man, this is something that's coming out. I'm telling you, there's no stopping it now. It's just a matter of vetting it all as you go, piece by piece, to start to understand a different version of what you've been told that reality is.
When's this going to happen, Jeremy? Do you think September?
I do not predict things I do not have direct control and my finger on the button of. But I will tell you, not only have plans been made, they have been enacted to make sure to protect people. How the world...
Okay, so what do you think he meant when he talked about we had a whistleblower from an agency that was prepared to go forward at the UFO hearing with Tim Burchett? Because Tim talked about somebody from NASA backing out. Is that what Jeremy Corbell is talking about? Because he's talking about somebody that has more knowledge than you or me, he says. So is this somebody that is actually involved in the UFO crash retrievals and reverse engineering program? Could that be through NASA? Do they have direct involvement in that? They've been hiding this stuff forever and obviously involved in the cover-up forever. Presumably, they're doing some space stuff. I don't know. These ships that we're talking about don't work on propulsion technology, so I don't know how valuable the rocket scientists at NASA would be to that. But presumably, they could have other programs extant. So anyway, there is reason to think that the NASA person that was supposed to come forward that did not might be this person that Jeremy Corbell is talking about, that has more information about the UFO subject and the deeper workings, presumably, of the government than you or me. So that doesn't mean they were directly involved in the UFO crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs, but it might be. Anyway, it's very interesting. I've long speculated on what NASA knows and what they've been hiding and what they have been involved in. If the control group is, doing the sorts of things that I think they're doing and that I've reported on and shown the evidence for them doing those things, if they are doing those high-level things, potentially even working with the beings, possibly in other domains, does NASA have any involvement in that? Could we have gotten a whistleblower privy to that stuff, talking about that at the hearing? Probably not, but it's fun to think about. At any rate, Jeremy Corbell says there's 40 plus whistleblowers ready to go, and they are armed and ready. I love it, Jeremy. Bring it on. Meanwhile, we have Lou Elizondo's book to look forward to. It's coming out in the very near future, so just to wet your whistle, to get you more excited about it, here's a few seconds of Lou talking it up.
Very strategically. And again, I think the book is going to serve a very specific purpose. And I think people are going to be delighted when it comes out. That's where we are with that. I'm not going to go into much more detail than that.
Sure.
But I think it's going to be very, very eye-opening. And I think,
yeah, okay, so they're going to say, holy cow, and the book serves a very specific purpose. So I'm excited. I'm pumped, Lou. When is this sucker coming out? I haven't heard a release date yet, but as soon as it becomes available for pre-order, sale number 1 right here. Meanwhile, we've got General Milley saying he hasn't seen any evidence of ET, but at the same time, he's not discounting David Grusch either. In an exclusive interview with the Washington Times, General Milley acknowledged that some reports of what the government now calls U.A.P. lack easy explanations despite serious ongoing research inside the Pentagon and a growing belief that at least some of the craft could pose national security threats. He made the comments less than 2 weeks after former U.S. intelligence officer David Grusch told Congress under oath that he is aware of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program, and even suggested that the Pentagon has been secretly keeping ET bodies in storage. General Milley didn't address the credibility of Mr. Grusch's testimony, but made clear he has seen no evidence backing up the extraordinary claims. He says the guy was under oath. I'm sure that he was trying to say whatever he thought was true. I'm not going to doubt his testimony or anything like that, General Milley told the Times during a wide-ranging interview in his Pentagon office on Friday. I can tell you, he says, that as the chairman, I have been briefed on several different occasions by the Pentagon's UAP office, and I have not seen anything that indicates to me about quote-unquote aliens and that there's some sort of cover-up program. I just haven't seen it. And who is General Milley, if you don't know? Well, he has had a momentous and at times polarizing 4-year run as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff under both Presidents Trump and Biden. And the first of a series of articles ahead of the scheduled end of his tenure in October, General Milley sat down with his senior Washington Times military correspondent, Ben Wolfgang. So there you go. Milley is denying it all. But, that doesn't surprise me. The Pentagon has been denying this forever. And also, many of the people involved in the Pentagon, of course, are not involved in the control group. The control group exists in some sort of shadow government. It is only in the shadows. But of course, it should be no surprise that General Milley couldn't get access to this stuff, assuming that he is being honest in that. We all have to remember that Admiral Tom Wilson was also not able to get access to this stuff. Vice Admiral Tom Wilson was the 13th director of the Defense Intelligence Agency. That's right, he was the director of the DIA. Other assignments included Director of Intelligence, the Joint Chiefs, Associate Director of Central Intelligence for Military Support, Central Intelligence Agency, Vice Director of Intelligence, the Joint Chief, the Director of Intelligence, the U.S. Atlantic Command, etc. So this is a guy that had a lot of access and a lot of power, and he threw his weight around trying to get access to this stuff, and he was only able to get into the foyer, if I can use that word, of the crash retrieval and reverse engineering project. He did get far enough where they admitted that it existed, but they wouldn't give him any information about it, and the information they did give him was fraudulent. They said, for example, there were no such things as alien abductions, and that they had tinkered with these ships, but they hadn't been able to get them to do anything. And, that may or may not be true. However, we know they're flying around in large ships with beings. So maybe they're tinkering with stuff they've been trying to reverse engineer and are actually in someone else's ships, which I think is very likely. But at the very least, that is definitely a dodge, isn't it? It's a way of saying the truth and a lie at the same time. So what do you think? Was Milley being honest when he said he had never seen any proof of ETs? Or is he part of the cover-up? I don't know, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Meanwhile, Fox News is really crushing it on the UFO thing. Love them or hate them, they have been covering the UFO topic more than just about anybody else in the mainstream news. And here's Avi. I'm not going to play too much of it. I'm not real excited about Avi's research, but I love the fact that mainstream news, or mainstream science rather, is actually getting engaged in a very serious way with UFOs and the phenomenon in general. So what's Avi working on? Well, you probably are aware that he's got some material that he believes may have come from a ship, and he's analyzing it, and he's actually hoping to get answers within a month or two about the actual truth behind this material. Is it alien? Is it not? He hopes to find out shortly. Here's him talking about it briefly.
And what we are doing now is analyzing the composition of the molten droplets that fell off this object when it was exposed to the fireball that it created as it moved through the air. And we are getting some interesting results, but I cannot detail them until we've put them together in a paper, scientific paper that we hope to make publicly available to everyone.
Well, I hope you do, Abby. I think that's awesome that you are engaged in this, and that mainstream science is starting to take UFOs seriously for the first time ever, really. And that I think that it is coverage like this and research like this that is going to engage the mainstream, the non-UFO audience, in a way that the crazy crash retrieval alien body stuff probably won't. You know, they'll scratch their head and shake their head at that kind of stuff. But they'll listen to Abby and say, oh, okay, well, maybe there's some material from a ship. You know, okay, all right, why not? Meanwhile, Fox is also running an opinion piece by Lieutenant Colonel Robert Marginis about UFOs, and it's the Bible's explainer on UFOs. There are many reports of strange objects in the sky and dating from ancient times. And I will let you read this at your leisure. Why don't we just go to the final paragraph? Here we go. Whether aliens are probing Earth are already among us is yet to be officially confirmed. What's not in doubt for many of us is the spiritual battle between the forces of God and Satan, which is intensifying. In fact, the challenges we face today, pandemics, natural disasters, out-of-control crime, wars, and more, are likely influenced by the spirit world, which is leading us to the prophetic end times and might manifest as a spike in U.A.P. sightings. Well, okay, so let's break that down. First of all, it's exciting that mainstream news is covering this in such a big way, and Fox has multiple articles on and pieces on this. It's really interesting. But I guess it's the legacy of Tucker Carlson that got them doing this. Anyway, but as far as the end times go, obviously this gentleman here is looking at this from a very religious point of view, and he is actually using religion to make sense of the UFO phenomenon. And I think that is fascinating and natural, I suppose, to fit your existing paradigm into a new paradigm. But talking about the end times and the prophecies and all of that, well, I made a video 6 months to a year ago talking about various apocalyptic modalities that all occur in the late 2020s and early 2030s. And some of this stuff is things like the lady has told Chris Bledsoe, or, John Ramirez of the CIA says, or things like that have nothing to do with religion. Some of it has to do with more like New Age spirituality kind of stuff. But there are a lot of apocalyptic modalities that say that there is going to be some sort of end times event in the next 10 years. So, but it is important to remember that apocalypse also means the beginning of a new world. So according to those thoughts and those ideas, we are in a stage of transition between the ending of one era and the beginning of a new era. As people might say, the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is upon us. As Dolores Cannon and many experiencers would say, we are transitioning into the fifth dimension. Gaia is transitioning into the fifth dimension. And so it is going to be a time of upheaval, according to those schools of thought, in transformation and change. And it's going to be rocky, but ultimately it will be for the better, according to those schools of thought. So I think that is more or less where this guy is coming from. And who knows? He could be right. We could be seeing an increased level of UAP activity because of some sort of cosmic shift that is happening. I could go on talking about these various modalities of the apocalypse and the new Earth, but this isn't the format for that, or at least the video for that. But I may talk about that more later, but you get the point. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbell says there has been a misunderstanding about David Grusch and his clearances. It turns out that he actually does still have his clearances. So let's give that a listen.
George and I were supposed to testify verbally right there under oath. And we started realizing that there was pushback about this whole thing happening. Notice how David Grusch did not get a skiff, and it was not because of his clearances. You know, he has clearances. Every clearance that you could possibly have, that he could possibly have, he still has and maintains. People need to understand, when you leave government, if you don't maintain that clearance, then your pay grade goes way down. Like, what is this guy going to do? Just the side hustle of real estate? What is he going to do? Right? So he has those clearances. So the idea he didn't get a skiff, which is ridiculous to me. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we're finding out who the specific person was that stopped that, because we got questions for him. That's what George and I are doing, because George and I have been in skiffs, like straight up to it's so funny, man. We journalists know more and are.
Anyway, so he's going to go talk about his own personal experiences, but but it is interesting that he and George have been in skiffs. Tom DeLonge has been in skiffs. Where's my skiff? Where's your skiff? We need some skiffs, right? Come on, skiffs for everybody. Discount skiffs. So, but that's really an interesting point, an important point, that David Grusch still has his clearances, because we had been told, I think by Tim Burchett, that he did not have his clearances, and that's why they couldn't get a skiff with him. So I think that was Tim's understanding, but it appears that that was a misunderstanding. David does still has his clearances, and that there was some other actor that was preventing this skiff with David Grusch and the representatives. Who is that? What was the agenda behind that? Was that the cover-up rearing its ugly head? Was that some other entity or force or justification? We don't know, but hopefully we will know more in the days ahead. One last thing, something fun to end on. This remote viewer, who's also part of the crypto viewing team, remote viewed Antarctica. Now, I follow the crypto viewing team. I think they are a fantastic group of remote viewers. And, this gentleman works with Dick Algier and Daz Smith, who I think very well of in terms of remote viewing. And they are all very accomplished. And, anyway, enough beating around the bush. Let's hear what he says about remote viewing Antarctica.
Viewed Antarctica. Yeah. 3 times. And the first time I had this corridor of networks, a network of corridors. There was technology in there that could wrap itself around something and pull it towards itself. Like forcing a plane to land. I'd say Antarctica is probably the most interesting place on Earth.
Wow. Most interesting place on Earth. And this is from a remote viewer who has remote viewed some really exotic objects. And keep in mind, these are all double blind, remote viewings. They have no clue what they're viewing. And yet they're able to describe it in incredible detail and at times really gain some insight into these destinations that are not even visible to the naked eye. They can gain information through more esoteric means. For example, when I played the other day, the remote viewer who was remote viewing the Tic Tac incident, and he was actually able to make touch with an enlightened being by doing that. So keep that in mind, guys. Antarctica has got some secrets to tell, and I can't wait to find out what they are. Let me know what you guys think about Antarctica and about all of this other news. David Grusch has got clearances. There's 40 plus whistleblowers armed and ready to go. General Milley doesn't believe any of it. And all of the other news, let me know what you guys think. in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. Sure would appreciate it. Smash the like button, smash the subscribe button to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love to see you guys there. And if you could share this video on social media, that'd be super helpful. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, consider leaving a PayPal donation, or heck, you could just become a channel member to become a Cosmic Road rock star. Love you guys. And there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channels, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.